The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Ah, there it is. You tuned into the Farron Dozier Show on nbradio.us, TikTok edition, and Live Sports. Catch me here Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time, only on nbradio.us. Shout out. How did I do? Was that a good take? That might work.
Today on Investigate TV Plus, keeping America's troops healthy during training and on the battlefield.
Soldiers and military personnel are our number one human asset.
A veteran's brush with death highlights a health concern among our armed forces. We explore solutions.
You can experience it, or you might be the person that saves that person's life.
Then getting your eyes checked can reveal more than just your newest prescription.
She then came back in the room, handed me a piece of paper, and said, I need you to go to the emergency room.
We arm you with critical information that could change the course of your next appointment and potentially help your health for years to come.
Plus, it's only 4 letters, but their LOVE has lasted decades.
She does most of the giving, I do most of the taking.
High school sweethearts show us how the most profound connections are spelled out in the simplest ways.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
Why did Amazon send me $20,000? Because I use Amazon AI. I'm going to show you a way to potentially.
As the number of Americans seeking high-intensity workouts increases, a rare but potentially life-threatening condition has become a concern for workout warriors. I'm Tisha Pell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. It's a term you might not know, rhabdomyolysis. According to the Cleveland Clinic, every year about 26,000 people in the U.S. develop the dangerous condition. It occurs when muscle tissue breaks down and releases a damaging protein into the blood.
While rhabdo, as it's commonly called, can occur after any kind of muscle damage, it's often caused by intense physical exertion, particularly in hot climates. Research shows cases have increased over the last 2 decades, one study reporting a 10-fold jump between the years of 2000 and 2019. Today, we want to educate you on the signs and symptoms to help potentially save a life.
While marathon runners and fitness newcomers alike are impacted, reporter Heather Graff explains how those serving in the military are particularly at risk.
I just known early on that she was a special kid. This is her.
As Kenya Evans tells it, her daughter Kiera had long dreamed of joining the armed forces. Her heart set on following in her father and brother's footsteps.
I was very proud, and I just supported her on her decision.
In 2019, at 20 years old, the Louisiana native enlisted in the Navy.
She just was happy to do it.
But weeks later, a tragic and unexpected incident at boot camp near Chicago. Kiera collapsed during a physical fitness assessment.
They said that she was in the hospital. She was in critical condition. And I'm asking them what happened. And they said that she fell during the 1.5-mile run.
Within hours, Kiera was gone.
How do you even begin to process that as a mother?
You don't. So I didn't get a chance to be by her bedside. I didn't get a chance to tell her I love her. I didn't get a chance to do the things that mommies do.
According to Kiera's autopsy report, her cause of death was exertional rhabdomyolysis.
Do you think branches of the military are pushing these recruits too hard and too far?
Yes, they definitely is. Nobody signs up to die. That's not what they signed up for.
The condition is triggered by strenuous exercise that causes skeletal muscles to break down, often during activities like running or heavy lifting. In severe cases, it can lead to kidney failure and even death. Experts say the muscle injury is rare and largely preventable, but recent data from the DoD's Defense Health Agency showed an overall increase in cases in the military between 2019 and 2023. That final year, more than 500 service members were diagnosed, with nearly half hospitalized.
It is definitely an issue, and it's out there.
Dennis Schofield is a research exercise physiologist. He used to work for the U.S. Army Research Institute of Environmental Medicine, where he studied the risk factors for rhabdomyolysis.
We know that the Marine Corps maintains the highest PT standards, and it shows consistently, more than 2 times the exertional rhabdomyolysis risk than the Air Force or the Navy. And the Army's up there too.
In fact, according to the Defense Health Agency data, cases in the Army increased by nearly 30% over the 5-year surveillance period. But across all branches, recruits had the highest risk of exertional rhabdo, with rates 6 to 10 times greater than all other service members.
We have recruits coming from high school. They may or may not be that physically fit, and most of the training occurs in the summer months.
That last point, an important one, as 3/4 of rhabdo cases occur during warmer months of the year.
So you're much less likely to see it in someone who's been training and who's built up that tolerance.
Dr. Derek Fine of Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine says early recognition and treatment are crucial, with symptoms ranging from urine discoloration to nausea to muscle swelling and soreness.
Is there a sense of urgency?
Yes, because you don't know how severe it is, and if you get it early, you can usually prevent all the complications. And the main complication is really kidney injury or kidney failure.
According to the Cleveland Clinic, kidney injury occurs in up to half of rhabdo cases.
My kidneys are at 50% each.
It's a complication former Sergeant First Class Farron Dozier experienced firsthand while serving in the Army in 2006.
Everything was spinning like 1,000,000 miles an hour.
It happened during an Army physical fitness test, right after the final sprint of the 2-mile run. Farron was rushed to the hospital.
Physically, I was in a very bad state. I had severe muscle damage. I could barely walk. But the mindset of a soldier, you don't complain.
He survived the ordeal and tried to get back to his old self, but says ongoing health problems ultimately led to his medical retirement in 2013.
I had a lot of mental and physical pain at that time.
And the pain is still with him today.
I'd never recovered fully. I still deal with the vertigo. If I move too fast or I move my head too fast, I could still trigger it.
Farron has since dedicated his life to spreading education and awareness about rhabdo.
Anybody heard of rhabdo before?
Engaging military personnel, athletes, and youth nationwide.
You can experience it, or you might be the person that saves that person's life.
Given the intense mental and physical requirements, Farron says it's a conversation that's especially important in the military.
There's a lot of push-ups, there's a lot of mountain crawls. It's the repetitive drills.
Soldiers and military personnel are our number one human asset. And so figuring out ways to protect that so that they can be combat ready when they finish training is super important.
The Defense Health Agency declined to speak on camera, but provided a statement saying in part, the military is committed through policy to leverage both exercise and environmental acclimatization for new recruits to minimize both heat casualties and exertional rhabdomyolysis, an important step. As experts say, prevention is key.
It's really about being careful, doing it slowly, starting with a less intense exercise.
I still don't comprehend it.
Kenya says she'll continue to push for accountability.
I'm going to fight for Kiara until my last breath.
Though she knows nothing can bring back her daughter.
It's not a day go by that I don't think about her. My life is not the same. My life will never be the same.
Yes, he's using a Dorilla pillow. How can you tell? Have you heard about Dorilla Ergo? It's the cutting-edge ergonomic pillow that people...
According to Kiara's autopsy report, in addition to exertional rhabdo, sickle cell trait was deemed a significant contributory factor in her death. Kenya says Kiara and her family had only just found out she possessed the trait during a health screening at boot camp. It occurs when a person carries a single gene for sickle cell disease, While most people with the trait show no symptoms, research shows it's associated with a 54% increase in exertional rhabdo, and Black people are particularly at risk. We spoke with Dr. Michael DeBon of Vanderbilt University School of Medicine, who says while we don't fully understand sickle cell trait's connection to rhabdo, two vital organs might be involved.
Individuals with sickle cell trait have a kidney concentration problem. We also know that they may have a higher rate of kidney disease than in the general population. So it could be in the situation of exertion where individual becomes dehydrated, that they're more susceptible to that type of injury, namely rhabdomyolysis.
In 2023, the U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command added a screening recommendation for sickle cell trait due to carriers' increased risk of exertional rhabdo.
The Navy declined to comment on Kiera's case, but provided a statement saying, in part, the Navy takes this condition very seriously and, along with other military services, has devoted a great deal of study to develop prevention, recognition, and treatment protocols.
Still ahead, more than meets the eye.
So I think
Do you remember studying sickle cell in biology class? What's the Count on Sickle Cell Trait Prevention is here to bring you awareness, education, and prevention conversations around the risk factors of this inherited gene. Visit wdconsct.org.
All right, welcome to the Farron Dozier Show on MB Radio. That's right, MB Radio. I had to start that conversation out that way because this will give you a sense of even why I do what I do and why this topic that we're going to discuss today around veteran suicide is so important for myself personally. As you watched all that, that was my episode in the military, and not just the physical pain, but the mental pain, the mental anguish that came with that experience led me down this road to the topics, again, that we're going to talk about today with my guests. So that is a very, very important conversation. The sickle cell trait, I'm a sickle cell trait carrier. If you're new to the episode here, and that was my experience in the military, where I collapsed from exertional sickness with rhabdomyolysis, which led me to being medically retired. I had 24 years, however, I wasn't done, so it wasn't by my choice. But the stuff that came after that episode, again, is not just a veteran issue. This is a human being flaw that we deal with, and what it is to be someone that's dealing with their health or stress or anxiety or what depression, like whatever that is for you, low mood stress. Like there's so many names that it's labeled under this term mental health. So I am not a doctor. I'm not a physician. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm a patient advocate, and I'm here to share my experience. And I find other veterans who also care about this conversation as well, but also here to share their life story. This network here, MB Radio, if you would like to contribute, you see that QR code up there. You can go there, donate to us. They provide these services, these platforms that you see us on are provided by them. So we need your help and support. We hear a lot of thank you for your service. However, there are some of us who are out here doing some real McCoy stuff, and the thank you is grateful. And if you would like to show that in an activity or an expression, then we have platforms for you to contribute to support us, to keep these platforms going. There are other shows here. So if you would like to visit mbradio.us and check out all the other shows that our veterans, our brothers and sisters here, our first responders are here as well, sharing their story, finding their voice, as I have and with my talk shows that I've been doing the last 15 years. So with no further ado, I have a very special guest. He is not a stranger to the network. So if you probably watch MB Radio, you've probably seen him on here as well. But I reached out to our group to find the guest this week, and he responded. And so I'm not going to say I don't know him. I know of him. But as you know, that my shows are 99.9% organic, so that this will be a natural conversation, as if I was sitting next to you and we were talking. This is what it would sound like. This is what it would look like. That is my daughter. Yeah. So let me bring up my guest. What's happening?
Hey man, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing today?
Good. Oh, hanging in there. Another day, another dollar. You know.
Yeah. You get $1?
Sometimes.
How you get $1?
Man, I don't know with this government shutdown, so we'll see.
Man, you know what though? That happens almost every year. That's not nothing.
I know.
That happens almost every year. They use that scare tactic on society, that the government's shutting down. Like, come on, y'all do this all the time.
Right. Ain't nothing new.
Nothing new. I played that clip. Have you heard of rhabdomyolysis? Have you been aware of that conversation at all?
No, to be honest with you, no, not really. I've heard the word, but I haven't really looked into it, so I don't know much about that topic, unfortunately.
Cool. That's fine. Thank you for that. So do me a favor, introduce yourself, and let's get this conversation started.
Yeah. So long story short, served 8 years in active duty Navy. I went in 2003, got out in 2011. For the most part, I did sonar operations. I was a sonar tech on surface ships. I did a lot of deck work on amphib ships before I did that. I worked with JAG in the legal office at Marmac in Norfolk. Kind of bounced around a little different places. I worked at the women's prison up in Whidbey Island at the NOPF center up there. Got out in 2011 because, downsizing under the Obama administration. Testing, I passed all the tests. It's just my rate was shut down and I couldn't advance in the rate. So got out, moved back home, and that's where the struggle began. Trying to go to college, trying to find a job. Either, how it goes for service members. It's overqualified or underqualified or not the right qualifications, right? So
right.
Struggle for many years. Finally got an associate's degree in policing. I figured I was going to go into social work for juveniles.
Okay.
Until I thought that was my idea. I love kids and I love working with them, but a position opened up and kind of fell into my lap working at the company that I'm at now. So currently I am a telephony systems operator for a financial company in North and South America. So I handle all the phone calls, phone systems for the phone calls, right?
Oh, right. All right.
That's my 9-to-5 job though. That's not my passion. My passion recently, and I've been a member of the VFW for over 10 years since I got out of the service. Kind of bounced around a couple of different posts. Finally found one that was a good fit for me, had the right leadership. And this is where I got heavily involved in the VFW organization, as well as at the district level, being I'm the judge advocate. That's an elected position in our district. However, my favorite job right now is the District 21 Suicide Awareness Chair. I get to go out to all the different posts in the area, which is 17 different posts. We have almost 3,500 veterans in our district, and I get to share information on suicide awareness and mental health.
Wow.
And so, not only within the district, but I do it wherever I can. I do it at work. I created a veterans group at my business. That way we could help the veterans that work there, teach a company, how veterans can help the company work in there. And so that's my big passion right now, is helping our veterans in the community.
All right. So again, thank you for accepting my invitation today. We're going to go back in time a little bit before service. Who was Josh growing up?
Oh man. I was an all-American kid, man. My parents, I played sports. I was in every sport known to man. My favorite was baseball, Boy Scouts, camping. I did it all growing up. My dad was in the military growing up. He was in the state guard side of it, so he worked the state side. So I grew up in the military. My mom was in the military before she had me. My granddad was in the military. My uncles were in the military. So I came from the all-American military patriotic family. And everybody knew growing up, Josh is joining the military. They all knew that. Question was what branch, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, growing up, I loved it. I grew up mostly in Fort Worth. Unfortunately, when my parents split in middle school, I stayed down here for a little bit. In high school, I moved to a small town in Illinois, in southern Illinois. Less than 2,000 people in the entire town. My graduating class was about 22 people. So I went from big city DFW to small town. Everybody's related to everybody except for me because I didn't grow up there. So you got big difference.
You got something that why this conversation about mental health, veteran. We talk about veteran suicide. As I mentioned, it's not just us. This is a human being condition, right? I got something I want to ask you before I get to the sports piece. You mentioned, that your parents divorced at middle school age, right? In the studying that I've done for myself and my own life experiences, and then applying that to other conversations, the transition and change for us at that age, elementary school to middle school, for some is it could be a challenge. How was that for you? With the divorce and changing schools and moving to another, location where you're the new kid on the block. How was that part for you?
Even though, my dad stayed in Texas with his job, my mom moved back to Illinois where her family was, right? So there's a long distance. However, my parents were still very cordial with each other. They made the relationship work because of the kids, right? That had me and my younger sister. Yeah. And so, honestly, there wasn't that I don't get to see one parent at all, right? I get to talk to her on the phone all the time. We made it a habit to go up there holidays, whatnot. Staying down here, my dad was very well structured, being in the military. He had his rules. You're going to be in some sort of after school activity, and that's how it went. And, I think what really broke me down was I was missing my mom. I'm a mama's boy through and through. Everybody will tell you that. I'm the favorite, right? So I was missing her a lot. So I'm like, look, I want to go live with my mom. I want to see what it's like, getting to know her and everything. Yeah. I still knew I was going to join the military after that. But, it was a struggle because, at the time you don't realize it, but your parents are trying to look out for the best for what's best, right? Exactly. And so, after a minute, my dad realized he does need to be with his mom, or she does need to be up there. And so I moved to Illinois, middle of my freshman year, and it was 100% different. Going from big city to a little bitty town where the only thing you do is drive up and down the street because that's all you have to do, right? Big change there. And honestly, that's where I think my biggest obstacle came was I didn't have that structure anymore. My mom still had structure, right? But not that military type structure that my dad had. Yeah. I kind of did some sports after school, but I really got into like the after school job so I can make my own money and stuff. Right. But, I got into a little bit of drinking, and, that's what kids in the middle of nowhere do. And, so when you talk about mental health as a kid, I didn't really struggle with it. I saw that freedom, and I kind of probably took advantage of it a little more than I should have. Yeah. But I don't know if I would change it at all because it made me who I am. I got to see both parents, live with both parents. Right. And I love them to death, and I wouldn't change that.
Right. What do you want to say about moms? Let's shout out moms real quick. What do you want to say about moms?
Man, my mom, she would give you the clothes off of her back, and she did everything she could. She worked. My mom is 5 foot nothing, 100 pounds, and she worked at a men's maximum security prison in Bowling Green, Missouri. And I tell you what, you would think that she'd get tossed around, and she did occasionally. But for the most part, man, she had the respect of those inmates, because she was one of those guards that if you respect them, they respect you. Yeah. Right. And so that I learned that from my dad. Yeah. But my mom is, you could stand up to the biggest, baddest guy in the yard. Right. Just show him a little bit of respect, and that goes a long way. And so for the moms out there doing the single parent, just keep doing what you're doing. Your kids do see it. I guarantee you at some point they're going to see it if they don't already. And my mom is probably one of the toughest people in the world, and I still talk to her every day, and she checks on me. I check on her.
Yeah.
I love her to death, man. Moms are amazing.
Yes, they say that the son is hardwired to the mom, and the daughters are hardwired to the dad. So
pretty much.
It may not be 100% true, but there are some truths. Some truths to that conversation. All right, what do you want to say about Pops? What do you want to say about Pops?
Pops, man. Again, I tell you what, growing up, again, back when they had the take your kid to work day, I was the only kid around in my school that got to go with a G.I. Joe soldier to work in uniforms. And man, I grew up in and out of tanks, APCs. I got to drive around with him on the back lot because he worked at the state facility where they repaired all the vehicles. And he was, in charge of the shop back then as SFC. Ended up becoming a CW2 there. And so he had to run the place. Man, I lived every kid's dream, playing all over the military toys, playing with the big guns and stuff. When we went camping with the Boy Scouts, I had the Army man duffel bag. I got to sleep in the MASH tent with the cots. I had the whole setup. My dad, he was tough on us, but I wouldn't change that, and a lot of people say you can't parent like that anymore, but I think it's still needed in a lot of cases. But strongest man, if he didn't know how to do something, he figured it out. He made things work. He would give you his last dime, but he always made sure that his kids ate, his kids had clothes on their back. Man worked 3 jobs, even working for the state, worked 3 jobs to support his kids. So he taught me the work ethic, the respect again, and just everything that I am that became a man today.
When you say tough, in your definition, what was that tough that you saw that it's missing today?
It's missing today. It's don't expect things to be handed to you. Right? People aren't just going to hand you free stuff all the time. You got to go out there and work for it. If you want something, go out there, bust your butt, work for it. If you can't, you don't have to have the newest car out there, man. You build it, you fix it. If you know how it runs, you're never going to get left on the side of the road. Right? Don't quit things just because it gets hard. Don't quit baseball just because it gets hard. If you want to quit, you better have a dang good reason why you're quitting. And you're going to have a backup. You're not going to just quit. You're going to do something else because you're going to stay busy. You're going to stay dedicated. And that teaches the teamwork that I think a lot of people are lacking these days is that ability to work with a team for a common goal. And just, socialism, man. If I wouldn't have done all that stuff, you don't get to be social. You don't learn how to make friends and talk to people. And I think, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have learned those skills.
No doubt. Any siblings?
I got one younger sister from my mom and dad, and then I got a half sister on my mom's side. So,
what do you want to say about the little sisters? The siblings.
My younger older sister.
Yeah.
We don't talk to this day. We don't get along whatsoever, and honestly, I know I had some bad moments in my years after the military, and I did things that I probably shouldn't have done. I tried to build that bridge with her, and she's not taking it. And so at this point, I continue to try, and if she doesn't want to step up, then that's on her, and that's okay. My other sister, we talk all the time. She's got a couple of kids. She always reaches out. She's like, her dad, unfortunately, wasn't in her life, so she kind of looks to me. I was 10 years old when she was born, and so she looks to me as that older brother, father figure. Man, I love her kids to death. She's got 4 amazing nieces and nephews. Love them to death, and I still help them out where I can, advice or a couple bucks here and there to pay the bills or whatever. I just wish I was a little bit closer with them. I see people out there with their brothers and sisters, and they're tight knit, and it sucks sometimes. But that's you got to deal with the cards that are dealt you, right? So.
Yeah. No, thank you, and thank you for sharing. That experience. I'm sure you're not alone in those experiences as family and siblings. I I just came from Georgia to visit my family because I was going to be the only one not there for my baby sister's birthday, and we got different dads. So I was like, how can I get there? And so I know what I feel how you feel, because for that sibling friendship and that sibling love, it takes extra, right? It takes extra to create that, because we're going to go find our own friends. We're supposed to find our own friends, but sometimes we want that same relationship with our siblings, and it takes a little bit of extra work to create that space for that sibling. So I appreciate you for sharing that where you are. Very important for people to understand that as well, because that could be some issues that we're dealing with, right? As far as mental health and how we may not be as close to our families as we would like to. Yeah. All right, so the second piece I want to talk to you. You said you was an athlete in many sports. So you mentioned baseball first. So I do a sports show on KCA Radio. So that sports segment for baseball is Gloves for Days. So what led you to baseball?
Oh man, that was the one thing me and my dad did growing up. We went to the Rangers games in the old ballpark, right, in Arlington. And I remember I was 7, 8 years old, and I was there. I was at the game when Nolan Ryan pitched his 7th no-hitter. I love baseball. I played it all growing up. I played every position. I was on all the all-star teams. What? I loved, being with the other kids. And then, I wanted to get into it in college, but I went the military route and stuff. Yeah. When I got out of the military, I came back home. I had that kind of some pocket change. I ended up going to the World Series when the Rangers were in. Man, I blew all my money on that, but I was there when Cruz hit that walk-off grand slam to go into the World Series. Man, I love baseball. Hooked my Rangers, the ride or die Rangers all day long.
All day. So you mentioned that transition. Is it safe to say the Gloves for Days ended in that transition to the military, or what caused that baseball career to come to an end?
So when I moved up to Illinois, in that small town, we had to co-op with another town because we couldn't fill our own baseball team. We did the same thing with football. Not a big enough school to fill their own team, so we co-op with another town. And unfortunately, when it comes to those smaller towns, it's all about what your last name is, because those families that have been there forever and generations, I didn't have the right name, so I kind of set the bench most of the time. And so that's where I started getting into working after school instead of sports. Yeah. And I kind of played some softball games here and there throughout the Navy. Yeah. Ended up throwing out my shoulder and partial rotator cuff tear and a few other injuries, kind of sidelined all my sports days. So
yeah, you mentioned that whole last name and what was that experience like for you? You've been a baseball fan for all those years as a child. You got this opportunity to go to a new area and maybe possibly make new friends, even right. And we talk about this in our mental health conversations, because we look at it from an inclusion and exclusion as an experience, right? Not just an activity, but the experience of not feeling included. How did you? I mean, you got a job, but I'm sure you had to deal with that. Like what's wrong with me? Like, how am I get in?
Man, it sucked because baseball was probably my first love. One of my first loves, and I wanted to play it through high school. And unfortunately, like a lot of people do, is even when you get out, you try to make those friends again, and it's not working. And so you start gravitating towards the people that do welcome you. And unfortunately, that group is not always the best group to run with. Right? And so when I was working after school, I started hanging out with like the party crowd and the alcohol and the girls and stuff like that. And, my grades started going downhill a little bit, and I didn't pay as much attention to school. And it hurt not being able to play baseball back then. So.
Yeah, no, thank you. And that's you shared that exactly how we talk about or talk from it, because when that sense of belonging is fractured, you turn to your peers for love and acceptance. And it could be, people go to gangs, people go to drugs, like those are the things that we talk about early in our early ages, though, right? Not in our adult life, but in our early ages where these things start to play out in our life. And so, again, I thank you for painting this picture for us, because once we get to that other topic on the next half of the show, I want people to understand that, or at least relate to, hey, this is what it looks like early on in age, right? And how we can start to make those corrections early in age versus when you and I discovered what our issues were in our older age.
Right.
That's for me is so important for people to understand, because we can start to reconcile and heal these areas early in age, as in our elementary, middle school ages.
Yeah, you just, as a kid, you don't really recognize what's going on. And that's, the parents are supposed to step in and see that and try and help you. That's what parents are there for, is to guide you through life and make those right choices. And as a kid, you just don't understand it. Everybody's like, I got the right answer. My parents don't know nothing. And then now it's like, okay, I see it. They knew what they were talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Give me one more sport that you played.
One more sport. Surprisingly, I didn't play in school, but throughout the Navy and afterwards, not so much afterwards, but I love playing volleyball, man.
Volleyball? Come on.
I know.
Hold on. Hold on. So my volleyball segment is the volleyball is above the net. So let's talk about volleyball. How did you get into volleyball?
Man, I don't even remember. I think it was one time in the Navy, we were having, ship day and field day, and we went out playing sports. Some people play basketball. I suck at basketball, man. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a basketball. But volleyball, man, it's the one sport I didn't have to run a lot in.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of movement, yes, but it's not a lot of running. But man, I just found it fun. And again, it's a team, and you have to communicate with that team, right? You can't just go out there and pound the ball. You're working with a team. And so I loved it. When I got into NOPF up in Whidbey Island, I was shore duty. They actually had like leagues up there. And so I started playing a little bit more up there.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it is about volleyball. I had fun with it, man.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes that's all we need is that expression of having some fun. And so, no thoughts of pursuing that afterwards, just more like a hobby, recreational.
No, it was hobby, recreational, and then again, injuries started piling up, and I couldn't do what I used to do.
All right, cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, this is the Farron Dozier Show right here on MB Radio. I got Josh here sharing his stories before service. Please listen to these conversations, because they are so important as we share our life stories. And we don't want you to understand us, because I don't understand me, right? But if you can relate to us as veterans, that's really why part of my conversation, my topics is for that relatedness, because and I know in the Army, I was taught the civilians are not going to understand you, right? And that was early on in service. And so in my transition out, it's like, hey, I don't understand Farron, so why would I put all that pressure on you to try to understand me when I don't understand me? But what space can we create to have a conversation that's effective? And I believe it's a relatedness. So I thank you for sharing, your first part, and hope that other people can relate to you as I did. So we're going to play this PSA real quick and come back and continue the show right here on the Farron Dozier Show, MB Radio. This is Farron from the Farron Dozier Show, 8 p.m. Pacific time on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website, the station that leaves no listener behind, and MBR Radio. That's right, MBR Radio on all their streaming platforms, including MBR Radio on Roku TV, Sunday nights live, 8 p.m. Pacific time on KCAA Radio and MBRradio.us. The Farron Dozier Show. For more information, search farrond.com. Tune in to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAAradio.com website on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Brought to you by Sports Collective TV, Sports Collective Radio, and Sports Collective Media. We got the Heme Factor, we got In the Zone, and we got Fourth Down in the 20-second timeout sports segment. All for you right here on the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 10:50 a.m. Also streaming from the KCARadio.com website with my guest hosts Robert Lamar and Coach Will. Catch us on Sports Collective Media on Instagram and Facebook. And make sure you watch us Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 10:50 a.m. Also streaming from the KCARadio.com website. Music, talk, sports, and so much more on the Farron Dozier Show. Zetovia salve, made from natural and organic ingredients, good for inflammation, poor circulation, hemorrhoids, yeast infection, lip sores, dry coughs, eye pain, minor cuts and bruises, and ready to purchase at botanicaherbalco.com. 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 All right, welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show right here on MB Radio. Again, thank you for listening today. We're going to get back into this episode as we move forward into life during Josh's experiences. After all that childhood experiences, playing the sports, a little bit of drinking, all that stuff, and what led you? I mean, you shared your family is definitely patriotic and served in the military. So was that ingrained, or did you have some other options, or you like, you know what, I gotta do it, or I want to do it?
So growing up, I knew I was going to do it, right? I knew all along I was going to do the military at some point. I just didn't know exactly when. But, when I moved up to Illinois, the grades kind of slunk and college just wasn't I hate school. Let me just put that out. I hate school.
Welcome to the club.
So much. So I did I had to do a little semester of college when I got out. I went to a community college and then joined up. But no, nobody talked me into do it. I just knew I was going to do it. I did it because I wanted to.
Yeah.
The schooling on the side helped, right? The paycheck helped out. So the biggest question, though, was what branch was I going to go into? My mom was not happy with me joining because she doesn't want her baby boy to go off to war because,
of course,
when I joined, this was in 2003, so not long after 9/11, right?
Yeah, right.
And that was not a decision factor for me. I already knew I was going before that happened, but she's like, you need to sit down and talk to your dad and figure out, what you're going to do, because he's going to tell you, don't do it right now. Right. And so I got on the phone call with my dad and my mom sitting there. I'm like, hey, you always knew I was going in. Mom says no. Question is what branch? And dad said, well, your dad, or my dad, my granddad, his dad, retired out of the Navy after 20-something years. He was on the submarines in Vietnam, all kinds of he's in the Submarine Hall of Fame up there in Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
My dad's been doing 20 years at that time. He's done a tour. He did first Gulf War. He's been to Bosnia, Germany. He said, if you want any kind of life after you get out of the military, join either the Navy or the Air Force, because those two will set you up better for positions outside. The Army, you're going to do grunt work all the time, and you're going to hate it. And the Marines, first one's in, and you're going to catch all the bullets, so don't do that.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, so Army, I said, okay, Air Force, Navy. I'm like, I'm not that big on the Air Force. I don't like planes and stuff. Like, I go Navy. It's, And so I joined the Navy after my granddad because he did it. And so, again, always knew I was going to do it. Nobody talked me into it. And it was more for the patriotism of it. Again, the all-American kid playing sports and stuff, Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Military was the option, right? That's just what it led to. And so that's why I ended up joining.
What was that initial transition like from that civilian life to that Navy life?
It was different, right? So going to boot camp was my first experience with a lot of different races, right? So growing up in DFW, mostly my school was either white or Hispanic, right? In Illinois, it was all white. Boot camp, you had a mix of everybody, and so that was my culture shock, right? In boot camp, but joining boot camp and then a couple of different ships and stuff, it's like you watch the news and you see all these struggles and whatever's going on, but then when you start serving next to these guys, it's like, dude's no different than I am, right? Exactly. He's got my back, I got his back. We think a little bit differently. That's okay. That's what makes us a team. As long as they're not pushing all their stuff onto me and forcing it onto me, I don't care what you do.
Exactly. Right.
And so I made so many friends. I'll tell you what, I know this is going to sound bad, but that's how I learned to play spades, was in the Navy, right? Because
nothing wrong with that.
When you're on the ship in the middle of the ocean for 6 or 7 months, there ain't a whole lot to do.
No.
We had spade tournaments. To be part of the team, I learned how to play spades, right? So,
that's cool.
And then just, my first ship was in Norfolk, and I wasn't a fan of the area. It's a big military town, but surprisingly, Norfolk does not like a lot of the military. So when you're out in the public, it's like, we don't want you here, go away. And so I'm like, seriously, in this type of town, you don't like it? All right. So, but, over the years, it kind of changed. It's just the biggest thing one of the biggest things I got out of the military was the experience of meeting different people, different backgrounds, going to different countries, learning about different religions, and just the overall learning of what makes the world, I guess.
Right. And you pointed it out perfectly. Why does the TV push this conversation, but yet when you are next to someone that they talk about is like a totally different world, and it doesn't match? And in that space, we have so many opinions in the world about different topics. And as you said, it's actually fine that you have you think different, that you have these different views. And if I could put my views aside and be like, well, how did you learn about that? That's interaction. That's a conversation.
Yep. Yeah.
What do you think about that part of life?
The way it is now, I think I don't even know how to explain this, but you got the left, you got the right, you got the middle, you got all the other different groups. They're just fighting for that power right now. They want to be the ones in charge, because I think it's no longer about the politics and what's best for the country. It's about what's best for their pocketbooks. And because if they aren't in charge, they're not making those dimes. So if this side makes it sound like they're fear mongering, and that's going to scare this side, that's what it's all about these days. It's all about the money and who controls the big pharma and all the other different groups and who's making the decisions. And there's people down here like, man, I just want to live my life with my friends, my family. Leave me alone, right? Leave me alone. I'm having fun with all my people.
That's the 99% of us. Is like, look, we just want to just hang out, live life, and take care of my family, and do what I need to do. But that 1% of that conversation corrupts that squeaky wheel, or that broken piece gets all the attention, and it's like it's corrupting us as a society.
Yeah, and when I talk on my show with all my people or just my friends and family, and I always reference it. There's an old '90s country song, and it's called "Politics, Religion, and Her." There's 3 things you don't talk about, and that's politics, religion, and her. I'll touch on it just because you can't have conversations without touching on it.
Right.
But I'm not getting into depth. I'm not doing it at work. I'm not doing it in the house because it will destroy people.
Yeah.
And so I stay away from it.
I lost a guy who was close to being my friend, right? And a veteran at that, a black veteran at that. And he felt like I was praising Trump for some odd reason. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with any of them. I don't even talk politics. I had a perspective on the spiritual aspect of it, but not the people. And he disowned me. And I was like, wow, that's the first time ever in my 55 years that I had to have an experience like that over a political like now I know what people say. what you mean by that. It's like, man, maybe I need to leave that alone because it's so much tension brought to that. But thank you again for saying that.
Yeah.
All right, so you joined the Navy. I appreciate the culture shock because for most of us, in some aspect, it's a culture shock. I do know a little bit about the Navy, that you have the hot racks, right? And so you sleep in that. I'm not sure if
coffin racks,
your ship had that, but I know for me, it was about 3 weeks into boot camp. You know, my mind was just like all over the place. Like I'm doing the drills and everything. But there was one particular night that I could play back in my head that I'm laying on my bunk looking up at the ceiling. And my mind, I'm like, what am I doing here, man? Like, what are you doing? Right. And then it seems like that next morning when my brain clicked, it was a routine. Like it went from that civilian 19-year-old teenager to now you're a soldier and you need to pay attention because these things that they're teaching you are going to help you save your life and your buddies' lives. Right.
Yeah.
Did you have a moment in boot camp where you were like, okay, is this really what I want or what am I doing here? Like, did you have one of those moments?
Oh, I did. Let's go back a little bit. So in MEPS, right? I think that was the first moment of what am I doing here? when you're there in your skivvies and you're doing that duck walk while people are looking at the backside of you, I'm like, okay, maybe I need to stop right here because this is just
like, what is this? What part of the physical is this?
Yeah,
right?
like what are we trying to find here? In boot camp, though, I think my moment of what the hell it was coming off of that bus and standing in those lines and you know, you strip down and you put your sweats on and you get all your gear and then you're standing in the line and people are yelling at you and this guy's over here yelling and I'm like, what did I get myself into? I'm like, okay, I'm thinking the whole time it's only 8 weeks. Or is it 12? Or what was it? Okay, I can do this. And days go on, and it's like you realize you start talking to your other guys in your unit, right? And it's like, okay, they're experiencing the same thing. We're from the same areas or same backgrounds. I can count on him. Yeah. You start once that teamwork starts flowing, man, boot camp just starts rolling, right? I don't know about some of the other boot camps like Marines and stuff, but the Navy, fairly simple. I'm not going to lie, it wasn't bad, but overall, I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people hate the gas chamber. I actually love the gas chamber. I don't know why. I came out of there burping, like I need to go eat because I'm starving. Maybe I was just weird like that, but boot camp. It was the first few days was like, I don't know if I can do this, but then when you start working with the people and becoming a team, once you find that team, then you're like, dude, we got this. It's no problem. Yeah.
So were you already a swimmer? I didn't hear any swimming in the background.
Oh yeah, man.
So were you already in the
I was already a swimmer. Swimming pools. We had a swimming pool in my backyard growing up.
Oh, see,
I swam in rivers and lakes, and swimming pool didn't have no problem. It's I was sitting there laughing at people. I'm like, how do you not know how to swim? And people are just barely staying afloat. And I'm like, why would you join the Navy if you can't swim? And then, man.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, the myth is some of the myth is real. I swim like a Chevy truck, like a rock. So, and we had a pool. We lived in Hancock Park on Melrose, and we had a pool. And I would get in it, but there was no backstroke. There was none of that. I was just swimming. Like, it was just where I put my feet in and hang out. That was it. So I never. What my issue is, it still is, I can't relax in the water. When I hit that water, I like it's uncomfortable. Yeah. And so I just never. I couldn't get past that feeling of. Yeah. I don't know that water pressure. I don't know, whatever that was. But, yeah, the myth is real, my guy. The myth is real. All right, so you're in the Navy. Those of us on the outside, we know there's a lot of time in the water, right? How did you manage that part of your life other than playing spades? Like, how did the mental aspect of that show up?
So let's go back to my first time in the water. It was on the first ship, right?
Okay.
We were running training exercises with the Marines off of the coast of North Carolina, right? And one night we were doing some drills, and my job during these drills was to go to aft steering, which is the very back, very bottom of the ship, back where your screws are, right? So you're under the water line.
Yeah.
That's the last-dish effort of how to steer the ship in case the bridge goes out. I'm running across the flight deck in the middle of the night with a buddy of mine that I was training, and I went to take a step, and I thought there was a step there, and I ended up missing it, and I fell 10 feet, landed on my head on the catwalk, on a steel catwalk.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
There's those little wires that keep you from falling off the side of the ship.
Yeah.
And I was inches from rolling off the side of the ship into the ocean, never to be seen again. Luckily, my buddy was there, picked me up and put me on the flight deck, and almost went to captain's mast for moving an injured person. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That was my first water experience.
Oh my gosh.
That's what changed my life, was that head injury.
Right?
But I lied. And so I went on limb duty. We were still out to sea for 3 days, right, when this happened. And when I got back to shore, I had just had a baby right before that happened, like a week before that happened. And I go to pick her up, and I start blacking out and falling. And I'm like, okay, I need to go to the hospital.
Oh,
turns out traumatic brain injury with all the stuff that goes along with it. And the ship got in trouble for not flying me off the ship to a hospital. About a year or so goes by, and I do limb duty. I do a couple of different jobs on the shore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got a family to take care of. I don't know what I'm going to do when I get out, because that's the scary part.
Yeah.
I said I'm fine. I have no problems. I can go back to work. I can go back to shore.
Oh.
So I ended up going to school, going back to another ship for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
That's where I really got into the water Navy, being deployed to the Gulf.
Yeah.
But you talk about life at sea. Luckily, I had a good group of people. We had video games at the time. We had, I tell you what, sonar,
it's like a city, right? I heard it's like a city.
It is. So we had about 300 people because I was on a destroyer. But the good thing was I chose a job, sonar operator, that we have our own contained space that has a lock and key. Nobody can get in there except for the people that are sonar operators. The CEO of the ship didn't even have a code to get in.
Whoa.
And so we're in this dark space with all the AC to keep all the equipment cold. So we're coming out in the middle of summertime in Iraq wearing Mustang jackets because we're freezing. So that was great. We had video games in there. We had it. I had it made on that ship, being from that, because of that job. But, for people that are thinking about joining the Navy or any other job, it's choose your rate, choose your fate. Because if you got to watch what you're going to do, because you're going to be one of them HT workers. You're on clogging toilets all day long. So find you a job that you can sit at a computer, because that's going to translate to the outside world.
Especially today, right? Especially today.
Yeah.
Oddly, Josh, one of my favorite of all time is Down Periscope. I'm sure you.
That's a Navy movie for sure.
Yeah, I love that movie, man. I don't know why. It's just the characters, the theme of it is hilarious.
There's some truth to that stuff. I will tell you that. There's a little bit of truth, a lot of it not so much.
Yeah, for sure.
But the sonar screen where he's just watching those green dots and like, okay, it's right there. No, that's not how sonar works. Your real sonar, you're looking at a green and black screen. So remember the old TVs where the station would go off, you get that white snowy static.
Yeah.
Same thing, but it's black and green, and you're looking for a very faint, very little line. And then you got to do a whole lot of math to figure out what it is.
No.
And so that's not sonar in that movie. That's not how that works. We don't talk to dolphins. We don't talk to whales.
Come on. You're ruining my movie, man.
We can listen to them. We listen to them all the time, but that's not how that goes.
I was about to ask you to do your dolphin impression, man. I own the Ventura County Orcas, man. So I was hoping you could give me some orca conversation, man.
Yeah. No. No, good movie. The other one that we love, Hunt for Red October. That is more of a real Navy movie than anything. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that one too.
Yeah.
You joined the military in 03. I remember I had just transferred back to California in 03, and we were training California had got activated to go overseas, and we were one of the first AGRs that took a company, a battalion to the field and was getting them prepared, to go to Fort Irwin to get the certification to go overseas, right?
Yeah.
For you in that aspect of it, how was that for you, being out there during that time of war?
Oh, what year was that? Time of war. I tell you what, when you talk about war, I think one of the scariest things that I ever did was not just driving through the Suez Canal, because when you're driving a big Navy ship through the Suez Canal over there and you've got like a football field in between you, that's scary. But in that Gulf, when you're doing the visit board search and seizures, like on the small Iraqi ships and things like that, it's like you don't know what you're getting into when you get on there, because you don't know. We found everything from drug smuggling to human trafficking to IEDs to weapons of mass destruction. And it's like going on that little boat, it could be your last step, and you don't know until you get on there and figure it out. And so I think, that's one of the scariest times for me. And I think that's kind of what gave me the problem coming back into the civilian world is I experienced all that. You can't come to work because you have a headache. Right. And so I struggle with that because I went to work and was not coming back. You can't come to work because you stubbed your toe. Right. So, over the last few years, working with different veterans, and I tell you what, my wife is number one reason why I'm here. And she's brought me a long ways in the way that I think that way now. And so I have to remember that while that was my most traumatic experience, somebody else's might just be a car accident on the way.
Right. Exactly.
And mine is no worse than theirs. We just have different experiences, right?
Thank you.
So, that's helped me relate to the civilian side a little bit better. Is trying to learn all that. So
I appreciate, again, thank you, because that's the whole part of that when it comes to trying to transition back into this civilian life, and then we have a totally different background and expectation, and then the civilian life is just way more lax than we are, and even in my life today, working with my broadcasters and these basketball teams, it's like I don't want to be the sergeant first class. Like it shouldn't, and here's the should world, it shouldn't be this difficult. And I don't want to be in charge. So just do what you need to do and let's make it work. But it doesn't seem to function that way. So I find myself having to use some of that military experience to push my conversations forward to get things done, and hopes of people aren't offended, but they know I serve, so it's not like and I share that as well. Especially with athletes and military, the disciplines, the mindset of an athlete and soldiers not much different, because of that uniform mindset. But it's challenging sometimes. And I find myself like, what am I doing?
I think I do that almost every day. It's like, man, I remember the days when I did this. Now I'm sitting here at a computer doing this. And what did I do? What did I do with my life? But
it's cool. Let me play this PSA real quick. I want to shout out to Come and Go. Our relationship has completed, but I truly believe in their campaign, and I still share it. But this is one of our previous relationships. Come and Go.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmago decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Calmago.com to learn how you can get Calmago through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
All right, welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show on MB Radio. I still support that conversation because, you know, for me and my mental health issues, I just didn't want to take drugs. Like I tried it, man, and it was, I would think I was worse off than I was trying to manage it myself. But you know, sometimes it's just our breathing. Sometimes we just need, they say, stop and take some deep breaths and you calm your nerves. And so I appreciate them for supporting me those 3 to 4 years almost. And, you know, that's a company that I believe in. So with that being said, life after service, you know, you've got that experience, you know, transitioning back into this world that we're in today. What was that like for you, going through all of your life experiences, from the athletic world to the small town to the culture shock, you know, to the head injury, to, you know, baby born, family, ship, all that, you know, we carry all those memories and all those thoughts into our next transitional phase. How was that for you?
Again, I think it was a culture shock. You know, I had all that life experience, right? The first thing I did when I got out was, you know, try to find a job. And luckily, when I got out, I didn't plan on getting out. So that was the first thing. Luckily, my dad, single, he's single, living on his own. He let me move back in with him to help me get on. You know, coming from the military world, he understands how it's a struggle. So
gotcha.
gave me a place to stay. So I was grateful for that.
Yeah.
Going back to college, right? They said take some was it day classes or something, because all the kids are going to be not waking up and it's all the adults. So I was like, cool. So I started taking some classes, and man, I remember to this day that we were in an English class and we were talking about communication skills, and our professor is going over things, the topic of when somebody said something and it was not the right time to say it, or somebody took it differently. Yeah. And this was at the time, I think, that everybody was worked up over Obama's speech of, if you owned a business, you didn't build that business, the government built it. And so I gave that example, and one of the kids said, well, who said that? And I'm like, that would be President Barack. Oh, I thought our president was Obama. I threw my book. I literally threw my book, and I stood up and I walked out of that class. How did you come to college and you don't even know who the president is? I was so from that point on, I'm like, I am going to the late night classes. I deal with the adults, because I am not dealing with these kids. So that was rough. On top of that, though, you know, a lot of people, when I have my conversations, transition is probably the number one thing that leads to veteran suicide, because people don't know what to do when you go from being told what to do every day, what to wear every day, what to eat every day, where to go every day. You have all these choices now, and that is harder than people think it is. Yeah. Do I want to go to class today? Oh, I have that option. I don't have to go to class today. But then you start losing that mission, you start losing that purpose, and it's like, what am I here for? Yeah. What am I doing with my life? I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. Joined the VFW that was right down the road, and unfortunately, that VFW was still all the old guys. They weren't changing to fit the narrative of what's coming out of the military at that time.
Right.
And So, I kind of quit going for the longest time. I
Right.
tried to find, I joined up a couple of motorcycle clubs, right? Because I love motorcycles. I grew up on those as well. I joined a law-abiding club, and I actually ended up leaving because I was drinking too much for a motorcycle club.
Oh, wow.
I ended up joining a prospecting for a club that led into a 1% club.
Right.
Ended up leaving them because one of the guys there, he was a vet, and this is what got me onto the subject of bullying in the veteran world. Is he said, I wouldn't urinate on you, in different words.
Yeah.
Your mouth was on fire. I'm like, dude, I understand that I'm prospecting into a club. But
Yeah.
if we're into a veteran, we don't need to be doing that, man.
Yeah.
How we help each other. I ended up leaving that club.
Wow.
I drank so much, I was putting, 12-pack case of beer away a night every 2 days, and it turned into liquor because beer wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And found this job, started still drink heavily because now I got money to do it, right? And ended up talking me into joining another VFW. And so I went over there, went with them. I got the business I worked at became a sponsor of the VFW. And I'm talking a high-end luxury auto finance company sponsoring a VFW. Did not happen anywhere else in the world. He got mad at us for being their guy at the time was. He thought I was more into my business than helping veterans, and that was not it at all.
Wow.
All I was simply saying is there is a way to treat your sponsors, and the way you're treating those sponsors is not indicative of a veteran organization.
Right, right.
I made leadership aware of what he was doing. I left that VFW. Spent some time outside, and I ended up finding another VFW closer to me, and since day one, these people have welcomed me in. Yeah. It is a younger leadership crowd, and we're not just that drinking post. We are in the community.
Right.
We're working with the community and finding that group that now I have that camaraderie with. Now I can count on them to, chit chat, or we can go grab a drink if we want to.
Right.
It's family oriented at our post. And along with that VFW, and again, my wife and the veterans group at work, I have come tenfold in where I am. So getting out in 2011, and here we are, was this 15
October.
Years later, almost close. In the last 6 months to a year, I have cut back drinking to, I've had a bottle of whiskey in the last 3 or 4 weeks now, right?
Wow.
I'm not drinking every day. I'm helping veterans. My mental clarity is doing better.
Nice.
I've lost almost 40 pounds in weight because now I'm not sitting there drinking and feeling sorry for myself. I'm up and doing more and helping people. So, I say all that to say my transition was a complete failure, coming out of the service. And that's why I try to help them now to realize that it doesn't have to be like that for you.
Right.
You got to find the right people, the right group, the right network to help you out, and you can then become successful. I wish I would have known that a long time ago. I would have been further along where I am now.
For real.
But I'm in that place. I'm in that place now, and I am doing good for me and my family, and I am doing good for the veteran community as a whole.
Man, I appreciate you, brother, for sharing that experience with us. It is so important for not just our brothers and sisters at arms, but for the civilians and that want to help us. As I started the show with, I know y'all want to help us, and we want to help us as well. But there are some things that we also have to do for ourselves to figure out our what's next, and that is one of the. It's why I'm in front of you today, right? Because in my transition out of the service after being medically retired, but even before I got retired, I made that medical board mean my life was over, right? So now when we talk about the mental health as the label, we all have to individually peel that label off to see what does that mental health mean to me personally, right? So that I could get what help I need. And I always felt like, I'm not a combat veteran, so the stuff that the VA offers, I'm a circle, those are squares. So how can they help me in that midst of my own, I didn't fight in a foreign country, but I ended up fighting a foreign gene in my body, right? So the mental anguish and all that stuff, fear of death, fear of dying, like all that stuff. I never thought about dying in the military. It was me, my fear of dying from my own health issues, which was comparable when you put them us next to each other. So that transition for many of us can be such a difficult process in discovering what's next, right? I didn't realize until a couple of years ago that when I signed up, I gave my life to death. Not everybody looks at it that way, but I didn't think about it at 19. But here I am in peeling off those layers. It's like I gave my life to death. Like, wait a minute, what? And if I could do that, could I give my life to Christ? And so that was my realization of, if I could do this for our country, for my spiritual context, could I do this? And so all of that transitioned over very well for me, because I was in the space of the willingness to look and figure out what's next. And I couldn't find it in the world, and becoming that advocate for sickle cell trait, becoming that advocate for rhabdomyolysis, now an advocate for, mental health. And again, athletes, people don't realize, even police officers, their suicide ideation rate is just as close as ours is as our veteran community, right? So you look at all those things, and when I look back in my own life, I was like, well, if I was dealing with all I was dealing with, I can only imagine what the next person's dealing with, right? And that gave me the space of that humility and that empathy and that compassion for other people. But I had to get that work for myself first, because I just was in a very, bad state. And finding Blog Talk Radio in 2009 was my living in those episodes kept me alive, because I was like, at least I could plan this episode and do a show, but I really didn't want to talk, but I found somebody to help me. And it was like just all of that, and how this radio became a platform, for us to share and connect with other people. And for me, it was my own personal therapy, because I didn't really have anything at the time. So when you, the work that you do under suicide, we can end the show with this conversation. What is that? When you peel the label off of suicide, of mental health for yourself, there's all these categories that come under there, right? What stood out for you when you look at that label of mental health? What stands out most for you?
The people aren't talking about it enough, right? My experience with the VA is like many others. If you mention the word mental health, they're going to start throwing a bunch of pills at you, and then you're going to become a zombie, and that's not what we want. No. So, the VFW and other organizations are legislating for, their other avenues of herbs, or whatever you want to call it, other healthcare, right? So for me, mental health is different for everybody, and the solution is different for everybody.
Right.
But the first step that everybody has to take is admitting that you have an issue and asking somebody for help.
Yes.
You cannot. This is one thing that you cannot do alone. You have to have help, and you need to ask for help. And so, while, like I just said, everything the answer is different for everybody.
Yes.
The first step is the same for everybody. Ask for help, and it's okay.
It's beautiful you articulate it that way, because I language it for myself as I had to be willing to tell the truth to myself about where I was at, right? And that's number one. Yeah. That's number one, because your mind will tell you other things, but I believe that spirit in there is like, there's got to be something better than this, man. Like there's got to be, and that spiritual mental battle is real. And when I was introduced to this personal development education in my darkest, I was in my darkest phase by 2011. Like it had been 5 years in that space. And that education, when I sat in that chair that day, that morning, and there was a conversation about their curriculum and their principles, and I put my life in one of those subjects, man. And when I saw that I made up that story, it was like, if I made up that story, what else did I make up? Right. And then that was my willingness to look in my heart and be like, okay, where is this coming from? And to tell you the truth, all those memories were there. Like all those stories I had glimpses of, because your brain is memory patterns, action patterns, and perception patterns, right? So I could see those stories my whole life. Why do I remember that? Like, why do I remember that? Like, why are those memories so to the point where they pop up on their own, and I go back to these thoughts and body feelings and sensations and nervousness and anxiety. But as you said, I appreciate, because that's the first piece of this mental health aspect is, are you willing to tell the truth to yourself to get that support?
And you're exactly right. You can want to go out there and help people and try to tell them this is what you got to do, A, B, C, and you're going to get better. But until you're willing to open up and tell your own story and share your own story and emotions, and realize in your own mind that, okay, I'm telling people that I should be talking to myself, right? I need to take my own advice before I give other people advice. Right. And so as I open up more and more, and I'll leave the show with this because I think it's powerful. Once I start sharing my own story with people and how, if it wasn't for certain people in my life, I probably wouldn't be here anymore. That's 100% true. And now, I went to a meeting not too long ago, and I was talking to a fellow veteran, and he's from the Vietnam era, where nobody talks about their feelings, right?
Right.
They did what they did, and they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
This gentleman opened up in front of me and one other person, and he said, I have never told anybody in this organization this before. I tried to commit suicide before. I took a gun to my chest, shot it, and I'm still here. And because you're telling your story, now I want to tell my story.
Wow, Josh.
So to me, that validated what I'm doing, because I'm helping people and I'm getting them to open up and tell their stories. And the more and more that happens, the more people we're going to be able to help.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. And the media says, one every 65 minutes a veteran completes their life. We know those numbers are high. And again, for our brothers and sisters at arms, no matter where you are, just be willing to look. You already know. We talk to ourselves all the time, but the confidence and the courage that we had to serve this country, we have to serve ourselves with that same type of persistence and that same level of confidence. And I know our minds can tell us one thing, and we feel, especially the body sensations. My body sensations were so bad that my legs would cripple. Like I couldn't even walk. I would just have to go lay down and sleep it off. And sometimes it'd be like 12 hours. Like the next couple of days, I have to just lay in bed because the anxiety of those body sensations and the thoughts were just, and I still manage it. But as you said, once you are willing to tell the truth to yourself, then you can find those ways to start to look, okay, let me apply this. Let me find this principle. I believe in principles. I know principles are powerful, and the Bible is full of principles. There are education out there. I did cognitive behavior at the VA. I think that was like the icing on the cake, because none of the personal development stuff that I did helped me grab those thoughts, right? The personal development said, just be with those thoughts and those emotions, and they'll go away. You don't have to become them. Well, that's true if you can meditate and be patient and sit there and let those thoughts just pass. But it didn't teach you how to grab that thought, put it through these curriculums, these principles. And is that exaggerated thought? Is that habitual? Like, where's that thought coming from? Oh, that's a thought from a 5-year-old kid. I'm 55. Like, we can't have those thoughts today. Like, but you have to be willing to do that work, because what I discovered for myself, Josh, even in my personal development courses that I'm still in today, when I'm at the point of the self-discovery where that fracture is coming from, or that disappointment or that shame in myself or that embarrassment in myself, it comes in my body again. And it's like I'm reliving that experience. Like my body is reliving that moment of that shame or that moment of disappointment or hurt or whatever. But when it passes because of that education, it goes away. And that's like, my point is, when you do the work, the freedom is on the other side of that work, though. Like you gotta push through the feelings and emotions and the hurt and the pain and the thoughts, because there is freedom on the other side of that, man. And can you speak to that if at all?
Yeah. Like I said, I went through all of that and I struggled for so long, and I wish I didn't. Now that I look back, it wasn't until I started opening up about myself and telling my story, not to my wife and my family and my friends. That's when I started feeling better about myself, right? And the more and more I tell that story, the more and more it comes out. Emotions come out, right? And I start feeling emotions again that I never felt before, or it's sharing that story to let other people know you're not the only one that is experiencing this, right? Other people, until you share that story, other people might not know. And man, I went through the exact same thing. How did you deal with that? Here's what worked for me.
Right.
But, it's just like it's just like playing baseball. You put in all that work, the spring training, the games and everything. And when you win that big game, that's when everything pays off. That's when you feel the best. And so, specifically for me, I've done all the work now. I'm opening up now. I'm sharing and I'm helping others. When I see somebody else get the help that they need, that's that payoff for me. That's what gives me that feeling now.
Yeah. I got two baseball things that you mentioned, the baseball analogy, right? The one around the business aspect of it is, in baseball, you can go to bat 10 times and strike out 8 times and make millions of dollars because you only get at bat 2 times. Like that's a different way to look at failure, because for me, failure is only in language. I can't point to failure over there in the corner. We learn failure as an experience, as a feeling. But when I look at life with that failure, I use that analogy that, hey, you can strike out 8 times, 9 times even, and still make millions of dollars in baseball. So is that is that striking out negative? No, not necessarily, right? And then the other one is around my ideology is that, as an umpire of a baseball game, right? When that pitch comes across the plate, it doesn't mean nothing until that umpire gives it a meaning, right? So it doesn't matter what the pitcher says, the catcher, the owner, the coach, the fans, it's a ball or strike. It don't mean nothing until the umpire calls it a ball or a strike. And I learned to live my life in that fashion, because we give meaning to life and people give us meaning to our life. But this is my life, right? And if I'm going to be the one making the decisions and making the choices, I got to be able to give it meaning. I appreciate you saying it's a ball, but for me, it's a strike. And let's talk about the strike. So because the outside world has so much influence on opinions, and like you said, left and right and the middle and all these things, and you should be doing this and you should do that, and why are you over here? You should be right here. Like, if you're in that mental, that fractured mental state of mind, you're susceptible to go to a political party that accepts you, but doesn't mean it's the right party for you, because they're doing some bad things in the background, right? And so it's and that goes down to our childhood level. Again, when we're playing with our friends and picking friends, and hey, if I'm not connected to mom and dad by the time I'm 12, then they don't understand me. They're not paying attention to me. So I got to turn to my peers. And that's all trial and error from 12 and up. And now you're susceptible to predators, gangs, drugs. If you don't find your identity in sports or some club, then where does that child go? And that's why, for me, this whole mental health and veteran suicide, I say youth suicide, because I've had friends, their children have taken their life, you know, and so, and we see it, we hear about it constantly. And what is that? And I just believe that those things can be worked out even at that 6-year-old age, that we can introduce these conversations at their level. I have to talk to my grandson who's 6 in the 1st grade, like, hey, who are you being? Confidence, courage, and caring. Okay, what does that mean? So he can get that in his heart now.
Right. Yep.
So he can build that self-confidence, that self-love, that self-esteem, that it doesn't have to come from an outside force. So I appreciate what you're doing, Josh. And you know, I thank you today for hanging out with me and sharing your life story and sharing these key things. What is there something you want to say about your job that you're doing with veteran suicide, and end it with that?
Yeah, you know, I just got into this job. I'm learning the role, but you know, I'm trying to share information out there. What I will say is, check on your people, right? It's not just the ones that seem sad and down and depressed. It's usually the ones that are happy and putting on that face that nothing is going wrong. Right. You got to check on every single person. So 1, check on your people. 2, it's okay to ask for help. Yeah. Okay. If you feel like you're struggling and you're not the only person, or you feel like you're the only person, I 100% guarantee you you're not. Right. There are other people. There's avenues out there. So reach out to me, reach out to your local veteran organization, your local family, whatever. You know, I was talking with somebody the other day, and somebody's thinking or contemplating, write down 5 names. And when you start thinking about that thought of, I don't want to be here no more, call number 1, right? And talk to number 1. If they don't answer and talk you out of it, go to number 2. Go all the way down that 5th list, and I guarantee you by number 5, you're not going to be there anymore. Yeah, right? It's going to give you that time to breathe and tell your story and talk it out and realize you're going to be okay. You don't need that permanent solution to a temporary issue. Yeah, it's going to get better. Things will always get better. Put in the work. Number 1, ask for help. That's it. Ask for help.
And I can relate to you on that one, because the moments that I felt like taking my life, I thought about my youngest daughter, and I'm like, I can't leave her like that. Like, that's what I held on to in my mind, Josh. It was like, I can't leave her like that.
I had the same thought all through the service. I keep going because I need to show my daughter that it's possible to get through the tough times. Yeah. She's going to see that I can do it. And now, she's grown and gone. It's my wife. I'm not going to leave my wife here. She's been here for me every step of the way. And I'm not going to do that to her, because to me, that's just selfish on me. Yeah. And she doesn't deserve that. Yeah. So, like you said, one thing that'll help carry you through is find that higher power, whether it's God or whatever you happen to believe in, or it has to just be a person like your daughter. Find that one higher power that you think is greater than you, and keep going towards that.
Yeah. You want to talk about your show? What brought you to MB Radio?
Yeah. So, helping veterans with suicide. Like I said, the transition, I think, is the number 1 thing. I want to help people with that. I've got guests on the show from veterans that are sharing their stories. Next week I've got a 20-something year Army vet coming on. She owns her own recovery asset business where she helps families recover money. And I've got other people, CEO, headhunters coming on that help with that. I've got people that help with your resumes and your transition skills and things like that. I'm looking for anybody and everybody that is going to either share their story from the veteran perspective or help those veterans, get those skills that they need. Especially one of the biggest things is that skills translation, right? Yeah. How do you go from machine gunner to office? Right. That's what I want to help with. So, my show is Full Speed Ahead After Battle because of the Navy.
Oh, yeah.
Forward, right?
I like that.
Always moving forward. Always moving forward, because you're not going to get anywhere unless you're moving forward.
I like that.
Every Monday night, 7 Central, right here on MB Radio. If you want to be a guest, reach out. I'm booked up through October and part of November now.
There you go.
Again, the show is just like this conversation that we're having today. It's helping those veterans realize that you're not in this alone. things are going to get better, and just giving those, like MB Radio does, giving that voice to the people to help them out,
man. Josh, thank you for today, man. I really appreciate
sir.
you. Pleasure meeting you. Like I said, for those, we don't know each other. Like, we know of each other, but we don't know each other. So I had a pleasure of getting to listen to you just like everybody else here on these platforms, man. So thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right.
All right. This is the Farron Dozier Show on MB Radio. Thanks for listening today. As always, we have a very impactful, nice show for you, for veterans who come here to share their story, share their experience. If you want to be a guest, just hit me up at Farron Dozier on all platforms. You see that that thing right there? Yeah, it has my IG and all that. You can find my name on all those places. If you want more information about what I'm up to in the community-wise, farrond.com. That sickle cell trait conversation that we led with the show today with the rhabdomyolysis, you can find more information there at wdconsct.org. You can also, as we ended the show today, Josh pointed out the willingness to be able to look in your life and tell the truth to yourself, to share what you're up to. One of the part of the curriculums that we teach from, that I shared with Caldwell Williams, is at lbisolutions.com. And when Caldwell's 91 and he's a Korean era veteran, and right now I'm his only curricular trainer. And so when he transitions in life, he's leaving that for me to move that conversation forward. And what I've been able to articulate it as, I call that our conversation the prerequisite to mental health, because you got mental health, but you got low mood stress. You got, my issues was depression, but also the future of uncertainty. Like, I live so far in the future that I have anxiety today, and I still have to find ways to manage that. But the most important thing that I discovered was that willingness to tell the truth about how I feel and where I'm at. And our conversation is more around that, the awakening to our awareness. Like, there's sometimes we just forget about some human being truths as what it is to be a human being first. And so I call our conversation the prerequisite to mental health, because we talk to it through sports, through military, I teach it with elementary school and middle school students, all the way up to parents, and here at military topics. So sometimes you just need that space created that you can share and realize that I'm not by myself, and I'm not the only one that's dealing with these things in life. So that's LBI Solutions. You can go there. And then on Sunday nights, you can catch me at the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio Sports Collective. We do a sports show over there. I believe that is everything. Oh, and of course, you may see some topics here. I own 3 professional basketball teams. I'm a co-owner now of 3 professional basketball teams. So the IE Hounds, they're in season right now. We have a campaign called For the Love of Dogs. That is in honor of my dog, Daisy, who I had to put down in 2022. She was elderly. And I'm in the space that I'm finally able to deal with that experience, that grief around her. And so we created a campaign called For the Love of Dogs, where we're talking and seeking conversations from breeders to grief counselings for pet owners who had to either euthanize or put their dog down, or their dog died in whatever tragic state. I don't want another dog right now. I don't have the heart for it. So my contribution back to the community is creating this space so that we can help. I mean, there's a nationwide issue with our animal shelters and fostering and just this dog world, and cats too. But us as the Hounds, we're starting off with the dogs. We are going to embrace the cats with our other team, the Riverside County Mavericks. So that's what I get to do. Another part of life, as we talked about, what do you care about, right? So find things that you care about in the community as a veteran and get back connected to those things. Go back to your childhood. What did you want to be when you grew up? Or what are those things that you cared about? You may not be able to play sports. Like, I can't play basketball, but look what it allowed me to do. Connect to a organization, to the American Basketball Association, the ABA, the Red, White, and Blue Basketball. Like, this is us. Like, I have a team that we have. You remember that ball? That's where Dr. J came from. That's the ABA. So I can't shoot jumpers or run up and down the court anymore, but I get to be a co-owner of a team, and now I get to move that basketball conversation forward with this next generation of athletes who are like me, chasing that hoop dream in their older age, and still trying to figure out what's next in life, even after this basketball world. right? So this is a human being conversation. And I thank MBR Radio for allowing me to be here and share this story. And shouts out to Josh for being a guest today. I'm out of here. We're done. Thanks again. And catch me on Sunday nights at KCA Radio, kcaradio.com, and here on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time. All right. Shalasai, what's the count?
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.